She never thought she'd end up in Chicago. Back in Ohio, her life had been steady. She had her routine, teaching at a small school where everyone knew her name, coffee dates with her friends every Thursday afternoon, long walks through quiet streets, familiar cafes where the barista already knew her order. It was a simple life, but it was hers and it felt safe. Then her husband got promoted. It was exciting news for him, but for her, it meant packing up that life and leaving it behind. Suddenly, she was in a new city, a bigger city, Chicago. The buildings felt taller, the noise louder, the people rushing past each other like they had somewhere more important to be. For Anna, it was overwhelming. She tried to smile, tried to tell herself this was just a fresh start, but deep down, she felt like a stranger in her own life. Even simple errands felt different. Back in Ohio, the grocery clerk would wave at her by name. Here she stood in long lines, anonymous. One face among hundreds. The city was alive, but it wasn't alive with her. The new school welcomed her kindly, but it wasn't easy. She would sit in the staff room at lunchtime, pretending to check her phone, while her mind wandered back to Ohio, back to the familiar faces, the laughter of friends she'd known for years. Here, everyone was polite, but no one really knew her. That ache of homesickness clung to her like a shadow. She felt like she was always on the outside looking in. Still, over time, she started to warm up to the other teachers. They would ask her to join conversations, invite her to after-school drinks. Slowly, little by little, she began to feel less invisible. And that's when she noticed someone who stood out more than the rest. Her name was Sophie. Sophie wasn't the loudest in the room or the type to show off. She had a calm presence, one that made Anna feel instantly at ease. Whenever Anna was quiet, Sophie was the one who asked if she was okay. Whenever Anna looked tired, Sophie was the one who slid a coffee onto her desk with a gentle smile. She had this way of making the chaos of the school day seem lighter, easier, and sometimes when their eyes met, Anna felt something, something that lingered a little too long to be casual. Sophie's gaze wasn't just friendly, it was soft, steady, and it stayed. Anna knew. She felt it. It was obvious, at least to her. She tried to dismiss it at first. Maybe Sophie was just naturally kind. Maybe she treated everyone this way. But when Anna paid closer attention, she realized Sophie's warmth wasn't spread evenly. The way she leaned a little closer, the way her voice softened when they spoke. It was different. Weeks turned into months. Anna and Sophie grew closer. They stayed behind after staff meetings, joking about lesson plans and swapping stories about students. They discovered they both loved the same silly crime drama, and that turned into long conversations in the parking lot, engines idling as neither of them wanted to drive away first. Sometimes Anna caught herself lingering on Sophie's smile long after she drove home. On cold mornings, Sophie always brought two coffees instead of one, remembering exactly how Anna liked hers. Anna started looking forward to those mornings more than she wanted to admit. She would wake up dreading the day, but then remember there might be a cup waiting on her desk with a note scribbled on the sleeve. Those small gestures lit up her day more than they should have. She tried to ignore it. She was married. This wasn't supposed to happen, but every time Sophie's hand brushed against hers when passing papers, every time their laughter stretched too long, Anna felt something stir inside her. She told herself it was nothing, just friendship, but deep down she knew it was more, and that knowledge both thrilled and terrified her. At night, when Anna sat in her apartment listening to her husband talk about his workday, she found her mind drifting back to Sophie. The way Sophie tilted her head when she listened, the warmth in her laugh, the way her presence filled a room without needing to demand attention. She would catch herself smiling at nothing, then quickly hide it, as if even her own thoughts were betraying her. She didn't say it out loud. She couldn't, but she felt it, and every day it became harder to deny. Then came the school trip, an overnight excursion with students, packed buses, and the exhausting task of keeping teenagers under control for 24 hours. It was the kind of trip every teacher dreaded but had to endure. The students buzzed with excitement, their laughter echoing down the bus aisles, while Anna tried to keep order with her calm teacher's voice. Sophie, seated across the aisle, kept catching Anna's eye, sharing quick smiles over the chaos. It felt like their own private language, a thread of connection running through the noise. The room assignments were handed out quickly, names shuffled on a list, and by chance or maybe by fate, Anna and Sophie were paired together. Sharing a room, Anna's heart skipped when she saw the paper with their names side by side. She forced a smile, pretending it was nothing, just a coincidence. But inside, she was buzzing with nerves. A mixture of dread and anticipation churned in her stomach, the kind of feeling you get before stepping into the unknown. The thought of spending a night in the same room as Sophie felt dangerous and thrilling all at once. The long day finally came to an end. The students, restless and excitable, had eventually quieted after much coaxing, giggling in their rooms until exhaustion pulled them into sleep. The corridors, once filled with the pounding of footsteps and shouts, slowly emptied into silence. The muffled hum of the city outside seeped faintly through the window. For the first time that day, Anna and Sophie were alone. The room itself was plain, almost bland. Two single beds pushed against opposite walls. A small desk in between, cluttered with worksheets and half-empty water bottles. The light was dim, a single lamp by the desk casting a soft golden glow, just enough to paint the room in warmth. Anna sat on the edge of her bed, untying her shoes slowly, her fingers trembling more than she wanted them to. Sophie kicked hers off casually and sat cross-legged on her own bed, stretching out like she was completely at ease. But Anna wasn't at ease, not at all. Her heart was racing so hard, she worried Sophie might hear it. They started talking in low voices, the kind you use when you don't want to wake anyone in the next room. At first, it was about work. Funny stories from the day, the chaos of trying to herd teenagers, the ridiculous things students had said. Sophie had a way of telling stories that made Anna laugh harder than she had in months. She laughed so hard at one memory that she had to clap a hand over her mouth, muffling the sound, her shoulders shaking. Sophie laughed with her, her eyes shining in the lamplight. Then, gradually, the conversation shifted. Away from work, away from the noise of the day, they began to talk about life. Sophie asked questions softly, not the kind of surface questions people ask out of politeness, but deeper ones. "What was your childhood like?" she asked gently. Anna hesitated, then answered. She spoke about Ohio, about summers at the lake, about the little cafe where she spent Saturday mornings reading. Her voice softened when she admitted how much she missed her friends, how lonely she had felt since moving to Chicago. Sophie listened, really listened, not interrupting, not rushing, just nodding, her eyes fixed on Anna as though every word mattered. It made Anna's chest ache. When was the last time someone had looked at her like that? And then Sophie began to share too. She spoke about her own life, about the long hours, the relationships that hadn't worked out, the feeling of searching for something but not quite knowing what it was. Her voice was steady, but beneath it lay a quiet vulnerability. Anna felt something shift between them. The air grew heavier, more intimate, like the room itself had shrunk and left just the two of them in their own little world. The conversation lingered there, heavy but comforting. And then Sophie asked almost shyly, "Do you believe in love? I mean real love, the kind that doesn't fade?" Anna froze. The word hung between them, thick and heavy, echoing in the silence. Love. There was a pause, a long one. The weight of that single word pressed against Anna's chest, making her breath shallow. Sophie's eyes lingered on her, waiting, searching. And this time, Anna didn't look away. She didn't laugh it off, didn't change the subject like she might have in the past. She just held the gaze. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst. She could feel the electricity in the air, that magnetic pull she had been denying for so long. Sophie's expression softened, as if she knew, as if she had always known. And then, slowly, carefully, she leaned closer. Anna's breath caught in her throat. Every part of her screamed that this was wrong, that she was crossing a line she could never uncross. But another part of her, deeper and truer, whispered that it was right, that she had been waiting for this. Their first kiss was soft, hesitant, like a question waiting for an answer. Anna's lips trembled against Sophie's, and for a second she almost pulled away. But then something inside her broke open, and she kissed Sophie back. The answer was clear. It wasn't clumsy, it wasn't rushed, it was inevitable. Months of stolen glances and quiet yearning had led to this. It was like stepping into a truth she had been avoiding for too long. The kiss deepened, filled with relief and longing, the kind of kiss that carries everything words cannot. Sophie's hand brushed against Anna's cheek, gentle, reverent, and Anna leaned into the touch like it was something she had been craving all her life. The world outside the room ceased to exist. There were no students, no buses, no noise, just the two of them in that dim, golden room. That night, they let themselves feel everything they had been denying. They whispered secrets in the dark. Anna admitted how lonely she had been, how she felt like a stranger in her own life. Sophie confessed how long she had wanted this, how she had been holding back out of respect, but how every day it had been harder not to show how much she cared. They laughed quietly, muffling the sound in pillows, like teenagers sharing forbidden secrets. Sophie teased her about blush and about the way her voice grew shy when she spoke from the heart. Anna felt herself open in ways she hadn't in years. They held each other close, their hands tracing lines of comfort and discovery, their bodies fitting together as if they had always been meant to. For Anna, it felt like coming home. She felt seen in a way she hadn't for years. With Sophie, there was no need to pretend, no need to perform, no need to be anyone but herself. It wasn't just passion, it was intimacy, connection, freedom. It was real. At one point, Anna pulled back slightly, her breath shaky. "What are we doing?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Sophie looked at her, her eyes steady and soft. "What we've both wanted," she said simply. "What we've been afraid to admit." Anna's chest tightened. Fear still lingered there, fear of what this meant, fear of what would come next. But when Sophie kissed her again, slow and certain, the fear melted into something else. Something warm, something true. Time blurred. Minutes, hours. She couldn't tell. All she knew was the warmth of Sophie's arms, the comfort of her presence, the way her laughter vibrated softly against her chest when she said something silly. And as Anna drifted to sleep in Sophie's embrace, she felt both terrified and alive. It was as though she were standing at the edge of something vast and unknown, with no map, no plan, no clear path forward. But for the first time in a long time, she wanted to take that step. When morning came, the world outside hadn't changed. The students were still loud, slamming doors and dragging suitcases, the buses still rolled, the city outside was still rushing. But for Anna and Sophie, everything was different. They moved carefully around each other as they got ready, brushing their teeth side by side at the sink, packing their bags with quiet glances. Nothing was spoken, but everything was understood. They didn't talk about what it meant, not yet. They didn't make promises or plans, but they shared a look that said more than words ever could. We both know. Anna carried that look with her as the day unfolded, through the laughter of the students, through the long bus ride home. It was a secret between them, a fragile flame she kept close to her heart. And sometimes the most powerful stories don't end with answers. Sometimes they don't wrap things up neatly. Sometimes they end with a beginning.